In front of us today is a classic. She was a weapon that I think many of us used way back when Destiny 2 first launched. Pretty sure it was available even during the beta, could be wrong. But Hawthorne's Field Forged Shotgun has returned to us with random rolls. And nobody's talking about this weapon because quite honestly, we're a little oversaturated when it comes to shotguns. Now there's a number of things while we're reviewing this weapon. Number one, it's in the kinetic slot. Number two, it comes with a number of random rolls that make it an obvious choice for PvE. And, dude, it's just super funky inside of PvP. I don't know what it is about this weapon. Maybe it's the sound, but this shotgun is mean inside of PvP. And I got no way to explain it other than it's just somehow consistent, even more so than other lightweight shotguns. Now, when we think of like the best lightweight shotguns in the game, to me, hands down, I think of Emperor's Courtesy. This is actually the Crown of Sorrow shotgun. It came with a number of fantastic rolls, and it also has good barrel length, which Fallout has actually pointed out to us does make a difference. Hawthorn is a little more on the girthier side, all right? So it may not reach the kill potential that Emperor's Courtesy does, but it doesn't have to. I'm here to say, guys, my experience with Hawthorn for the past few weeks has been nothing but good. So first up, let's just go over the roll that you see here in front of you. Again, intrinsically, this is a lightweight shotgun. Superb handling. You also move faster with this weapon equipped. Fantastic if you decide to pair this shotgun with, say, something like Stompies or Transversive Steps or Dune Marchers in my case. You are lightning fast. Now, our barrel perk here is Barrel Shroud. Nothing too fancy, just a stability bump as well as handling. A pendant mag for that +1 in magazine size. Field prep for that increase in ammo reserves. Also faster reload, stow, and ready speeds while you are crouched. Now, the final trait on this weapon is Surrounded. The weapon gains bonus damage when 3 or more enemies are in close proximity. Now, this is a nice buff. It actually tacks on an extra 30% damage per pellet by just simply being in the proximity of those 3 enemies. Now, the downside is the moment one of those enemies dies, that Surrounded trait drops off. Meaning, for the most part, taking advantage of that increase in damage is all but brief. Unless, of course, you use Surrounded Spec. Now, Surrounded Spec allows you to hang on to that Surrounded trait and buff for like an extra 1.5 seconds, maybe 2 seconds. It's not long, but long enough to at least finish off the majority of those enemies. And if you happen to be running in between groups of enemies, you can just be chaining that Surrounded trait over and over again. Another thing that's beautiful about Surrounded Spec, though, is that it also gives you an increase in damage separate from the Surrounded trait itself. So instead of a nice flat 30% increase there in damage, it actually increases that damage by 40%. Now, considering, since the most recent changes in Shadowkeep to many of our traits, Surrounded is actually one of the best options to still go with, especially on a shotgun. Now, in Hawthorn here, it was fantastic. We're playing some Gamut Prime, rocking our Reaper set here, and running around with Hawthorn like a madman. It was taking down ads very quickly, and that extra 40% there in damage from Surrounded was better than any other trait I could have had on the shotgun. Better than Swashbuckler, better than Rampage, as all of those traits all cap out at 33%. Even Kill Clip, the only other trait that could have possibly gone head-to-head against Surrounded and Surrounded Spec is maybe Multi-Kill Clip, which is currently not available on a shotgun. Needless to say, guys, Surrounded is definitely not a trait to overlook. And on Hawthorn here, it is fantastic. Now, inside of PvP, I actually use this exact same role. Nothing impressive in terms of range stats, and Surrounded is not a trait that is easily procced inside of PvP. Turns out, it doesn't even matter. Hawthorn was putting in work. The weapon doesn't necessarily boast anywhere close to some of the best stats, but somehow, some way, Hawthorn is one of the most consistent shotguns, despite this role obviously being only for PvE. And considering that my range stat was only 50 here on this roll, I was somewhat expecting the majority of my gunfights to require at least 2 shotgun shots to get the kill. Kind of similar to something like rapid fire shotguns inside of Crucible. Turns out, no. It could still one-hit KO with ease. Now, it's not to say that's going to be the case next season. I have no idea. As you know, shotguns are going to radically change in our next sandbox. But it could actually change for the better here for something like Hawthorn. Lightweight frames, for the most part, have never been the most popular, despite them being very good shotguns. Hell, the movement speed boost all on its own, as well as the increased handling, to me is already a win. But aggressives, for the most part, has been king amongst all shotguns inside of Crucible. For right now, though, inside of PvP, we'll just have to wait and see where Hawthorn stands in the next season. But as of now, it's deadly, and it sounds deadly. And inside of PvP, PvE with Surrounded Spec, it is phenomenal. Now, what are the god rolls for this weapon? Now, as you see here, there is a number of things that actually makes Hawthorn very unique. Number one, notice you can roll something like Assault Mag, which increases our rounds per minute by +10, as well as Full Auto, which do stack. No, you won't get the rate of fire equivalent of, say, something like a rapid fire shotgun, but you're getting pretty close. What would that put us, guys? What was that? That would be like 99 rate of fire, so almost 100. So you got a rate of fire there that is almost rivaling that of rapid fire shotguns. Now, on paper, it looks like rapid fire shotguns have the edge because they have the same impact, 65 versus 65. That's actually not the case here with Hawthorn. Even though they do have the same impact, even when you compare them in game, Hawthorn still does substantially more damage. Just wanted to clarify that before we started thinking that the damage there was the same due to that impact looking the same. Now, another great roll for PvE, obviously you can't go wrong with 1-2 punch. Matter of fact, 1-2 punch with Grave Robber, an excellent combo choice. Another trait to not overlook is, of course, Demolitionist. But to me, guys, still the best trait here is Surrounded and Field Prep, or you can actually take the route of Surrounded and Grave Robber. And as far as PvP goes, the Crucible choices they have right here, yes, are actually still the best. Now, something to bring up, Firmly Planted. That has been a trait introduced to shotguns this season. It's a weird one, normally only found on certain primaries, as well as something like sniper rifles. Not a common trait on a shotgun. Turns out it works on a shotgun. If you slide a lot, Firmly Planted activates. That increased stability, accuracy, and handling will happen and apply during your slide. So even though it's not highlighted right here, if you wanted to take the route of Firmly Planted and Opening Shot, that is definitely an option to go with. Combine that with some range boosting perks, you've got a lightweight shotgun here that can rival the best of them in terms of one-hit kill range, while simultaneously having that ease of use with that increase there in accuracy. I actually really want to try out that trait combination, Opening Shot with Firmly Planted. We tried a similar roll on Perfect Paradox, but Perfect Paradox being a rapid fire shotgun inside of Crucible just did not jive well. It still required 2 shots, which kind of defeated the purpose of Opening Shot, right? Opening Shot is all about adding on that extra half meter to get that far range one-hit kill. Now, before we conclude today's review, I do have one complaint, and maybe it's just something affecting lightweight shotguns, but it seems something that's directed here at Hawthorn. Currently, right now, Hawthorn for some reason lacks in the ammo reserve department. When I was actually looking at it, even with double shotgun reserve perks, I noticed that Hawthorn could only hold 19 rounds in reserve. In comparison to my Emperor's Courtesy, which, by the way, doesn't even have Field Prep. So Field Prep here, even though it is an amazing trait due to a number of reasons, that increase in reload speed, stow and ready speeds, all great stuff, the increase in ammo reserve is only by 1. On top of that, when we compare it to other shotguns, rapid fire shotguns, our threat level here can hold up to 28 rounds. Aggressive shotguns can hold up to 22, which kind of seems strange, because to me, I would assume like Hawthorn would be at least in the 20s with something like Field Prep, considering that aggressive shotguns like Imperial Decree, even without a beneficial magazine perk here, was able to hold 22 rounds. That was the biggest drawback about this shotgun, and considering you're using it with Surrounded, you're going to be using this thing a lot. So there will be times you are waiting on ammo. So if you happen to be using Hawthorn, especially with something like Surrounded and Surrounded Spec, I highly advise rocking Shotgun Ammo Finder or Special Ammo Finder, Shotgun Ammo Reserves, and Double Scavenger perks for your shotguns. Pretty sure that still works, right? Double Scavenger still work, guys. I did it just for placebo effects. Regardless, do everything you can to possibly give yourself back more ammo. Maybe even go with some special finishers, which kind of sucks because you burn some of your super. Regardless, I wonder if this is something intentional on Bungie's part or if this is just bug, because it just doesn't make sense to me that Field Prep only gives us a +1 in ammo reserves over another weapon within the same archetype. If that's the case, well then that sucks. Fantastic shotgun being cucked by ammo. So guys, that is your Hawthorne Field Forged Shotgun, a classic, man. It's got some unique traits and perk combinations. It's got some crazy consistency inside of Crucible, and with the right roll, especially in the next sandbox, depending on how things are shaken up in terms of range, accuracy, especially accuracy broken down by each different archetype, it's possible Hawthorn might become one of the best shotguns. Oh, and by the way, it is a royal drop, right? Royal drop. Pretty rare so far. I think I got mine from Raul. Just kind of like popped up in my inventory one day. Royal drop though, guys. So there's really no definitive way to farm for this, but good luck out there. And by the way, if you did get that Firmly Planted Opening Shot roll, feel free to come to my Discord. I would like to just talk to you and ask you how nasty it is. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.